ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me? I was not expecting to be presenting from all the way up here on high, but this is where they told me I need to be so the camera can see me, so I will try my best to project. This is delivering the right content to the right audience, and I hope that you are the right audience for this today. It's less of a technical presentation, more of a series of case studies based on a lot of the work that Four Kitchens has done in the Drupal space and for different clients. I'm Nicole Mabry. I'm the marketing manager at Four Kitchens. I have a BFA in film and an MBA in marketing, and that means I just love telling stories. Or in this world, I love creating content. Prior to coming to Four Kitchens, I worked for Turner Sports, so I got to see some old friends out there, Cox Media, and a digital property that belongs to Johnson & Johnson called babycenter.com. A lot of those organizations ran Drupal, so that's kind of how I got a little bit mixed up into this community as well. I'm also going to introduce in advance, and I'm crossing my fingers that she makes it, my colleague Alex Hicks. She's a senior technical project manager here at Four Kitchens, and she's done a lot of work on these projects, so she would be able to answer a lot of those technical and specific questions about these projects. So she texted me about 40 minutes ago saying she was stuck in traffic, so I'm hoping that by the time I'm done yammering, she makes it in and she'll get to introduce herself as well. So at Four Kitchens, we go all in with that kitchen pun, and we call ourselves web chefs. Our team of web chefs come from varied backgrounds and have all different types of different strengths. So we're Drupal developers, we're JavaScript developers, we're UX strategists. We have just lots of different strengths. And together we make a kick-ass team for projects of any size and complexity. We're extremely proud this year to be Diamond sponsors at Drupal Camp. We're a fully distributed team that has web chefs working across the country from California to New York, but Atlanta's special because it's my home and also the home of my colleague Alex. And we're a digital agency that creates websites and apps for organizations that need to tell important stories. So nothing at all to do with kitchens. Originally our four founders, that's where the four comes from, and Kitchens was all of those different strengths coming together to make, I guess, the meal or the buffet of web design and development. So that's where that funny name comes from. Atlanta is also home to some of our great clients. In the past, we've done work with CNN and Turner, which are our fellow sponsors here today, and we've collaborated with some of the world's most respected organizations, universities, nonprofits, and the work that we've accomplished together reaches millions of people every day. So of course, as a marketing person, I have to trumpet the fact that our partnerships are award-winning. We've won 26 industry awards just since 2015. 9 W3 awards we've won this year alone. Our work with NBC also garnered us a Primetime Emmy, and we're just very proud of the work that we've done and the recognition that it gets for our clients. So we're Four Kitchens, and we provide beautiful and sustainable solutions to the challenges of modern web publishing. Yay, there's Alex. Hi, Alex. So in other words, we make content go. But Alex, do you want to introduce yourself now, or you want to hang on?
Sorry, I live here. So I'm Alex Hicks. I'm the senior technical project manager at Four Kitchens, and I worked on the baby napkins project. So hopefully I can help you some insight into what we did and how we did it.
So that's enough about us. Let's talk about our work and how we've created solutions for delivering content to the right audience. We'll begin with ForcePoint. ForcePoint, powered by Raytheon, is the new face of WebSense, which is an enterprise software company developing products to safeguard users, data, and networks against insider threats and outside attackers, in the cloud, on the road, and in the office. So ForcePoint came to us with multiple sites on different platforms and in different languages, which made it very difficult for them to manage their content. As a cybersecurity firm that offers several products across many different countries, they needed a partner who could provide a single content management system for their products to ensure that they were getting user insights to deepen their lead generation. We worked with ForcePoint to redesign and build a system that supported multilingual geographical content on an informative and easy to navigate product-focused website. So WebSense's public-facing website was powered by an outdated and inflexible CMS. As they prepared for the joint venture with Raytheon to launch ForcePoint, they wanted to streamline the management of their content, unifying multilingual content, internationalization with geographically relevant content, localization within a modern responsive design. We redesigned and created a new content architecture, splitting the previous site into a marketing site and a separate support site. And this made it easier to track and receive deeper leads and insights because we were focused on prospective customers. Additionally, we created tight integrations with Marketo and Telium to track conversions and leads. So visitors to the ForcePoint website from the United States need content that's relevant to North America, while visitors from Turkey need content that's relevant to the Middle East. So by tagging site content for specific regions, ForcePoint prioritizes content that's relevant to the user's geographic location, in addition to a visitor's choice of language. So products are offered based on the user's IP location, and products that are not available in their region, they'll be removed from the site, so you wouldn't see them at all. So in this example, all the products are available in the US market, but will be completely removed for viewers that are viewing from Turkey. And this is just an example of a product page that's shown in Latin America. It's targeted to their language as well as products that are available in that region as well. We also partnered with the translation provider so that translation can be requested and imported into the content management system. So this ensures that the copy written in different languages is compelling and specialized to that region rather than just a direct translation from English. And this particular website launched in 7 different languages. For our next case study, we have NBC. We've worked with NBC on large architecture projects since 2013. They have a lot of data of a lot of different kinds, and it all has to be delivered across many diverse platforms. Rather than building multiple solutions for multiple devices, the NBC team wanted a single and fast content solution. In fact, our work with NBC has enabled them to deliver personalized content from multiple sources in about 150 milliseconds. We built a robust content model for expansion. As NBC's digital presence grows, our team is helping them rely custom-fit solutions rely less on custom-fit solutions in favor of solutions that are reusable across platforms, finding ways to manage their content once and then present it everywhere. This multi-generational headless infrastructure, we started with apps and then a framework for rapid prototyping and then a framework solution, and then rebuilt it again to improve the performance for all of NBC.com. And we continue to improve this platform today. NBC obviously has lots of data, video clips, full episodes, character bios, production credits, and a localizable schedule for 230 NBC affiliates worldwide. Collaborating closely with NBC, our web chefs worked on building a content API that would allow NBC to deliver data across different platforms on a fully responsive NBC.com main site. A well thought out and flexible content model opened the door for conversational interfaces as well. By adding one field to Drupal, we were able to integrate Alexa onto their platform. We built a decoupled architecture and content API that supports multiple devices and experiences from a single content source. So this applies to mobile, Roku, Samsung Smart TV, Alexa, and more. Recently, NBC's new personalization layer was rolled out for highly personalized content on streaming sources across multiple devices, including iPhone, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and Alexa. NBC wanted to present personalized content based on user data, but they required that the platform respond at about 150 milliseconds during peak load. This was a huge request since the system had to select specialized content from an array of choices based on complicated algorithms. So to solve this, new personalized components can be quickly added and time to market is reduced by moving business logic out of each application and into the personalization layer. We both met our goal and built a system where the new device can be added effortlessly since we no longer have to build a new application for each device. So as I mentioned earlier, we're a remote company, so I wasn't going to rely on just me to talk all the time. This is Todd. He's our CEO at 4Kitchens. And he gave a presentation that you can find on our website and our YouTube channel, and it's called The Future of the CMS. And in that presentation, he details a lot more about our experience with NBC. So I'm going to let him fill you in. As I mentioned earlier, you can visit our YouTube page and or our website as well, and it's a fabulous presentation. I've gotten a lot of feedback that it is the best presentation that certain people have ever seen. So when you get a chance, check it out. Sorry, Todd, that you didn't get to chat with us today. For the next case study, there's Meredith Agrimedia. They're a very different media organization to NBC. Meredith Agrimedia's legacy content management system was out of date and proprietary, and it was just a pain to use. The site loaded slowly, and their ad performance was dropping. They needed a partner who could provide solutions with immediate results and long-term sustainability. We worked as a thought leader with Meredith, guiding them towards a brand refresh with an emphasis on content migration, surfacing evergreen content from their archives for reusability and continued engagement, and developing a new way to think about advertising. They're a major media conglomerate that's based in Des Moines, Iowa. Beginning with the founding of Successful Farming magazine in 1902, Meredith Agrimedia serves as the umbrella host for a host of publishing platforms, including agriculture.com, Successful Farming, Living the Country Life, and Country Gardens. In 1994, Meredith launched agriculture.com to better serve the needs of farm and rural communities. Meredith wanted to realign their Successful Farming and agriculture.com brands. So a lot of things have changed since 1902, and even since 1994. So for this client, it was very important that content be downloadable and the site's user experiences was optimized for mobile. Many users plan to access the content from the middle of a cornfield where internet access is not very fast or reliable. So we built a site that was based on user experience so Meredith Agrimedia could focus on visitors. Meredith can grow their qualified audience by providing advertisers certainty that the ads they're selling are being seen by the right people. Using the same code base, we were also able to rapidly migrate, redesign, and relaunch another Meredith property called Wood Magazine. We're going to leave media for a little bit and head to a university association client for our next case study. Texas X's is a 130-year-old institution, with over 100,000 active members. So the association unites its membership to enrich the student experience, advocate for and support the university, and provide a hub where alumni can connect with each other and stay up on the latest UT news. Discovery and definition were used to determine how to approach their migration from a legacy custom CMS to Drupal, as well as how to integrate their new Salesforce CRM. So this is an example here of some of the visual style guides that were created by 4Kitchen's design and UX team. It outlines the visual language of the website, specifying guidelines for all the elements, typography, colors, images, and the interaction patterns across devices and experiences. Those guidelines can not only provide a consistent design throughout the build process, but they also provide a rich visual language that can be referenced and expanded across the lifetime of the site. Focuses on membership with calls to action are featured on the homepage. And then they also deeply integrated into their Salesforce CRM, and they created customized content. It would put up the user's name if they were logged in. It would feature information about their membership level and localize events to where that person was located, just all based on pulling information from their customer relationship system. Another association that we have done work for is IEEE ComSoc. IEEE Communication Society is the premier international and professional organization for communications technologies and information networking. And they sponsor conferences, educational programs, local activities, technical committees, and all different types of activities like that. Personas were created to understand what we're targeting. Key performance indicators, and et cetera, were used related to how the association makes money. We had to determine the main KPIs we were targeting for the new site. So for all of our personas, we focused on 3 main KPIs, and that was becoming a member, purchasing training, and attending conferences. And those were the primary goals, and so those are the primary actions that people could take on the site. Membership had steadily been declining, so we focused on students who were just finishing their bachelor's degrees. Whether those students went on to further their education or become practitioners, we wanted to engage them on the website and offer value that they need in the places where they needed support the most. This is a bit of an eye chart, but I included it because it does show some of the relationships that were discovered during that discovery and definition portion. Before we could revamp the information architecture and taxonomy, we organized all the content around the main personas to understand their motivations and needs. This is a content ecosystem that shows how students are engaging with the content that was on the site. And then from there, we created user journeys, motivations and actions of each of the different personas. And then we could feature content that was based on how the students were navigating through the website. We also identified relationships between the content so we could show related and dynamic content. And this would keep students engaged on the site for longer. So IEEE sponsors and hosts hundreds of events every year. There are large multi-day events that have submissions deadlines, call for papers, and other important items that need to be surfaced regularly, both on the conference mini site and on the main site. So we built a robust, faceted search to help users find the events that they need quickly, with key information presented so they don't have to search in a lot of different places. This particular event mini site was built as an extension to the main website. It has key permissions that allow even typical volunteers to maintain and update the site quickly, and they don't have to have access to the main website to do that. Admins can spin up a mini site quickly for a conference and hand it off to volunteers. It's intuitive, and volunteers can work on a site with limited CMS knowledge. For example, images uploaded to the site will size and focus appropriately as long as the resolution isn't too low. The mini site also automatically pulls in the location information and has swappable logs that are also clickable. Register today and other fields like that can be changed to things like submit papers or whatever the most important deadline is at the time. And the conference menu is also completely editable by volunteers. No special training is required. This site within a site creates a platform that's flexible enough to let volunteers run their own website without the headache of maintaining a whole different platform. Our next case study comes from American Craft Council. It's a 75-year-old organization that champions craft and a culture of making. And they just put on different unique nonprofit shows and educational resources. I have a library of crafts, conferences, public lectures, as well as student programs. They were struggling with an ad hoc website to manage their content, resources, and their events calendar. Visitors had a hard time discovering the materials from ACC's collection of articles, and the calendar was difficult to understand. The content management process for editors was tedious and time-consuming. ACC wanted to update their old site with a focus on better connecting with users of their content. The new site needed to be future-ready with excellent information architecture, a semantic content model that would better allow visitors to explore their interests and engage with the craft community on an improved editorial workflow with their creators. And moving on to the online style guide, it helps to reduce the cost of redesign, and we perform design on the site using Emulsify rather than producing comps on non-web assets. This happens outside of Drupal, yet Drupal automatically inherits the styling from Emulsify, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on Emulsify in just a bit. ACC went through a brand overhaul in 2015, and we worked to extend the new brand on the modern web. One of ACC's primary goals for their new website was to promote visually engaging content, showcasing the makers of craft and their beautiful creations. We focused on getting images to render in a way that's both user-friendly from an administrative point of view and visually engaging on the front end. Using Flexbox, we executed a priority plus menu pattern in the main header and created a sense of visual hierarchy by adding a splash of color to the content headers. ACC's events repeat annually, and they have invested a great deal in the display of artist information in their booths. ACC, being a visual arts nonprofit, has a great deal of rich imagery and visual content. So information from artists and the show's floor is updated on a scheduled basis to ensure that it's displayed to visitors via the website is the latest and greatest information that's available and accommodates quick changes in location and booth number for artists who drop out at the last minute. So they wanted to be able to be flexible and change the content quickly without a lot of headaches. Our final case study, we're going to venture back into media, public media this time, for the award-winning Public Radio International. PRI was originally a support client for Four Kitchens, and the relationship morphed into a strategic partnership beyond website support. With a list of new features for their existing site at the ready, Four Kitchens helped PRI make improvements to foster community engagement by building new tools to encourage engagement, improving content discovery, improving search functionality and custom event tracking, and also implementing Public Media Platform, or PMP, on PRI's site. The Public Media Platform is an API and content sharing ecosystem that helps public media organizations distribute across digital and content sharing ecosystem. So they can share content, whether it's audio, video, stories, images, etc., across a variety of mobile platforms. So our work with the PMP resulted in new functionality and improvements to the PMP Drupal module, which in turn made PRI's content available to public media entities across the country, and it significantly expanded their audience and their reach. So to recap, let's review some of the overarching principles of getting the right content in front of the right audiences. People first and data-driven. Focus on the users. There needs to be a lot of research into who you serve and why. Put people first and use data to validate or refute ideas. There are hundreds of decisions that need to be made that require UX input and translation. Content strategy and organization. When you have great content, you'll still need help managing and organizing and surfacing it. So by researching what users value and search for, as well as how they categorize and consume content, you'll be able to develop intuitive navigation systems that speak clearly to and align with user goals and behaviors. Of equal importance are the people that are behind the scenes that help create, prioritize, and organize and manage content. So make sure you're conducting stakeholder research as well to help develop a centralized system for content management and execution that's usable and thrives well after launch. So you want to take care of the people that are uploading your content as well as the people that are going to be consuming it. Component-driven design is a methodology for creating design systems that work from the content out. And so to aid in this process, Four Kitchens created Emulsify. Emulsify is a pattern lab-driven prototyping tool that's built specifically for Drupal. It provides a living style guide to maintain consistency and communicate styling guidelines throughout entire organizations. When a new element is created, the code populates the style guide and is used by Drupal. So when part of the site gets changes made, the changes are made everywhere without any extra work. And you can get started with Emulsify at emulsify.info. Maintainability. Maintainability is key to future-proofing your platform. So using minimal custom code, documented coding standards, and automated testing keeps long-term costs down while reducing regressions. That makes things easy to hand off to your team or to your client. This also applies to a site's look and feel, and that's also one of the reasons why we created Emulsify. Test-driven migration. So creating a set of tests that ensure important information is carried over and URL redirects are 100% correct. Using a phased and iterative approach is another great tool. Using the right methodology at the right time. This includes Agile and Scrum for development and launch. Assuring the code quality through quality assurance procedures. And future-proofing architecture and content delivery. Evolving user needs and technological advancements require constant adaptation. Nobody really has a crystal ball, so you can't know for sure what's on the horizon. So rather than build for specific devices and device platforms that focus on content, and that'll allow the content to easily expand to new devices and new experiences as those are created. Being future-proof means planning for the unknown, not necessarily predicting the future. A robust content model will allow you to easily adopt new technologies and respond to evolving industry expectations. So now I'm going to bring up Alex, and I'm going to have to mic you. That's all right. So Alex will be able to answer any questions. You can stick it back here in your pocket. And this mic is mostly so the video can hear you, not necessarily so our audience can, so we'll still need to project. So if anybody has any questions, Alex is the one who can help.
Does anybody have any questions?
I feel like we over questioned given what you went through to get here.
Yeah, I literally ran up and down the street for 20 minutes like, where is this place? Yeah, but I shouldn't have waited till the last minute, so. Yeah, does anybody have any questions about, I know we showed a lot of case studies yet.
Yeah, so in your, I guess, identifying and breaking things down into components for design, architecture considerations, like what, I guess, in that process do you think is like a must-have or a critical step that you must follow in like assuring that that is an optimal event? Because that's a lot of work, kind of breaking stuff down into components and then putting it all back together again, but then making it reusable. So.
Yeah, we document all of the assumptions for the project, and then we try to find, I'd say, 5 to 10 core components of the website, and then we match them up with the use cases and say, are any of these flexible enough to fit 3 or 4 use cases? And then if we're starting to see like, oh, this is a unicorn and this is a unicorn, can we streamline them? But we always come component first. So we make sure that the architecture and the content model is all built around design components. And that's how we kind of do it all at the same time to ensure that we're all coming from the same place. And I would say unique components, really, we probably get 3 or 4 after initial launch, but then they really start to gear up as they iterate and improve the site. So I don't know if that helps.
No, it does,
Yeah. It's just all about matching up use cases, because we've come into projects where people have built 20 templates, and there are 30 use cases that none of those templates serve. So if we can get components to serve use cases, and they're flexible enough that people can build so many different kinds of templates and pages just based on those components to meet all of these different use cases.
I guess ancillary to that, like, would you approach that process differently if you were building like a SaaS product versus a single content system?
Yeah, I mean, I think with a SaaS product, it would be hard for me to see how you would build a component-based system on a SaaS product. I also haven't worked on SaaS since 2013, so I might be a little green, or I might be missing kind of some of the nuance there.
Yeah, I think the nuance there is that you're building a template for templating, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not that you're just building a final product; you're building a more vanilla version of that component that is going to have probably more options.
Right. So I think with with Pattern Lab, what I would do is build a system where you can at least have continuity, even if you're building one-off components for every single use case.
Right, all the boxes are in the right space.
Yeah. And if you go in and change the box, all the boxes across your product change. You don't have to go in and recode each box.
So as somebody who works more on the UX end, but has to appease the people on the UI end,
Yep.
do you guys have a particular process or procedure that you guys go through that helps you find that middle balance between UI and UX?
So our UXers build our user stories, they do the PO reviews. We make sure they're ingrained in the project from start to finish. And so they are heavily involved in UI because they did the information architecture, they understand the content. And then we make sure, they do the design review. And so they say, okay, UI, design, here's some use cases you're missing. Here's some content that we need to think about. And so we just make sure that they're integral in the process, but they don't necessarily hold back the designer or the UI person. Right? Does that make sense? Like, we just make sure that they're a part of the process so that they can catch the gotchas. And we want design to have the freedom to kind of design as big as they want to within the scope of the project. Is everybody here working on Drupal sites, or are you kind of doing different kinds of products?
Have you all done any work with personalization on some of these sites?
Yeah, we've done.
What tools do you use back end for that?
Yeah, so there's Aquia Lift. There's we used, oh man, is it called Boom Train? We implemented Boom Train on Frontline, which is a medical communications website, and they're a publisher. And I think we implemented it, and about 3 months later, we had enough information to start feeding personalized info to users. What we were finding, and what I found across personalization projects, is that generally the content that's being served might be personalized to an AI, but the client doesn't actually like what's being served. They want them to go somewhere else. And so we end up doing a lot of like backdoor hacking to get manual content placed within the personalization stream of content. And so then we start pinning content and we start placing it in different areas or flagging it as like, bring this up first and then bring up personalized content.
Yeah, when you get into personalization, it's a big gap. I helped build Aqua Lift for them years, so you have to go in with a personalization strategy. If you don't have a personalization strategy, don't do personalization. Yeah, you have to, because you will run into those I call them eddy scenarios where like you personalize something, but there's no value or it made their experience terrible. So
you get a better experience unless, like you said, you have a strategy. You get a better experience by relating content and having done the research for your AI or your information architecture to make sure that the relationships of your content is strong enough that users can actually follow the relationship and they can drill down into your site and understand the paths to get to where they need to go. Yeah, we haven't figured that out yet. You just get a little pop-up that says, we're gonna track your cookies, are you okay with that? And if we're not, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's figured that out yet. Just how do you pop up enough notifications to get somebody to agree to it?
So for the information hierarchy, I'm still kind of new to Drupal and everything. Do you guys use a software or a freeware, or is it as simple as just loading up an Illustrator file and just kind of doing it there?
So how we do information architecture is we do a super deep dive into the content of the site, and then the UX people start categorizing all that content, and they start labeling buckets. So they throw out the navigation that's on the site, and they just look at all of the content, and they look at the analytics, and they start bucketing the content based on what they're seeing, the patterns of content. So we go from the very bottom and come back up and say, here's what we saw, and then we actually do a card sort with our clients. We'll go into a discovery and we'll say, here's a bunch of cards of all the information buckets that I found. You guys categorize them. And then you put people into teams and they'll start categorizing content and you start seeing all the holes. And you'll start seeing them go, oh, I don't know where this goes. Well, we know you don't know where it goes because on your site, it's in this random place that doesn't make any sense. So it helps people understand how they can categorize their own content and helps illustrate the holes that we're seeing so that they can get on board with let's change this. Because a lot of times people can be very resistant to those major changes to their information architecture. You show them. Yeah, you have to show them the holes, and you have to show them the holes in their logic. And once you can do that through user research and stakeholder agreement, they get on board.
And obviously maybe prototype some of that up in Sketch or something to show them how it's displayed how there is a hole, or how do you visually translate that, I guess?
With note cards?
Okay.
Yeah, literally, I've had UXers go into a room with I would say 300 note cards of content, just from categorizing all of their content on their website and asking them and then telling them, tell me what tier 1 is, tell me what tier 2 is, and have 3 teams, 4 teams do it, and you start seeing patterns, and then you show them, here's what came out of this, what do you guys think? And then, I was doing this with SDSU Extension, and 4-H is well, our people are looking for this, and then, what's the other one? Economics, agriculture economics. They're well, we need this. And so we kind of have them actually negotiate with themselves. Who should come first? Should both of them be at tier 1? Or is there a way that you guys can come together and agree on how we should do this. And a lot of times you'll find agreement in the room.
I'm sorry, your tier 1 is like for solid class? Or?
No, I'm sorry, it's what I call it. I'm sure it's not the right term. It's the first level of the navigation. It's like what's at the top. Yeah.
Any tips on getting the senior stakeholders to be involved prior to actually doing things?
Yeah. So we interview stakeholders, and then we tell them, we understand, like, what are your goals? What's the vision that you see for this project? We make sure we understand where they're coming from, and then we invite them to the discovery, of course, and we have them sit in the room with everyone else, and we have everybody do workshopping. So we, instead of like us talking to them or having them come up and control, we'll actually break people into groups so that everyone feels like they have a voice. And then each of us breaks into each of those groups, and we try to direct the conversations to make sure we're getting the most value out of those sessions. And a lot of times stakeholders will actually hear and see what is going down, you know, at the working level, and it can kind of change their opinion. And if not, we can continue to have the conversation, and if honestly they want it one way, then we're like, okay, then you need to be involved in all the decision making. And that's okay, but you have to have that, you have to want to be there, and you have to want to be involved, and you have to understand the research to make those decisions.
And you still probably get the landmines of some senior vice president delegates somebody
Right.
to seek this vision out, and then when he gets close to the final product, he only looks at it to the final product and goes, that wasn't my vision.
Right, and if we see that happening, we check in. We check in at every step. And you know, it helps to either empower the decision maker, or it empowers them to say, I need to be involved more. And we've actually seen it go both ways. We've had VPs come to every demo, come to scrums, because they want to be involved in the conversation because it's that important to them. And that, you know, I think that's okay. I just want them to be involved.
When you're creating all your teams, you know, to get collective with all the notes that you created, I'll put you fit in all those notes. Can you do that remotely if your team is in remote locations? Are you doing that remotely, or is everybody on?
We are remote. We're 100% remote. We use Zoom, and we actually have client check-ins 3 times a week when we're in discovery definition, and then we have daily check-ins, at least 15 minutes, with our single point of contact and any other necessary stakeholders, so that we have continuity, everyone's on the same page. But we always have an in-person kickoff, because that's our moment to get everyone on the same page. And then we have a couple meetings, we document all our findings, and then we have something called a needs assessment document, and we say, here's what we discovered that we need to fix and that we need to define in the next phase, and we ask the stakeholders to agree to those things. And if they say, like, that's wrong, I don't want to work on that, I think that's not a priority, we fix all that before we go into definition.
Is that all our questions? Thanks a lot. You all were a great audience.
Thank you.
Appreciate you putting up with me.